So hello again. It's now for my time 2 minutes after start. Welcome to our today's Beas webinar on master data and manufacturing processes. This is the first in a series of webinars that build up on each other in terms of content and cover the central processes of Beas add-on. In addition, there are a variety of other features you can learn about our partner resources, the documentation, or in an individual presentation. In the webinar, you will see that the all-new Beas design, which will be officially available in the next release. And the actual presentation will last around 30 minutes with a Q&A afterwards. We are recording this webinar for further use, but of course, we will cut out the Q&A session afterwards. So now I see we have a lot of people in here, so I will start with the presentation. What you see here is the item structure of Beas, and you see that it's different from the SAP item structure because it has multiple levels, including the different operations, resources, sub-operations, and so on. So this is the full structure you will see here. We will see that in the software later more in detail. It is covering really the full bill of material, the routing, alternative and parallel resources, tools, and other important information. We can add quality control, and it has the real nice item structure view in a tree. The next step will be the item master data, what you see here. You see again, it's our new Beas design, but it's really based on the standard item master data in SAP Business One. So a lot of tabs you see here in a row are already available in standard SAP, but we add some tabs, and we especially add the tabs for the bill of material routing, configuration, and quality control in the top of the window. And the last step of today's webinar, we will go for the production flow. This is overall including planning, MRP, production, QC, and inventory control, but today we focus on the production and the QC part. So we will see how to produce an item, how to record time, consume material, produce items, and how we get into a quality control order. Now I will share my screen with the software. And the first thing you see, and you probably will not know if you don't know Beas at all and our other products, is the dashboard, the Beas dashboard coming from the B1UP. The B1UP is another add-on we are selling, very, very good, because it's adding a lot of functionality into standard Business One and is coming with these nice dashboards available in the standard tools for Business One, and especially in our own add-ons like the Beas. Now let's start and have a look onto the item structure. So you see it's at first a list view as you know it from Business One, but you can extend the full item to the complete structure. I will do it with the right click and expand all. And it's still a little bit limited because we have sub-positions here in the operations. And what you see is that we have different colors, different icons in here, numbers, and so on. And I will now explain what they are meaning. So the top level here is our item, our sales item. It's a produced item, and we see this on the folder. So all items we are producing that have a bill of material have here this little folder in front. The boxes are showing our purchase items, so raw materials and other items. In this example here, it's a packaging item. Then you see the position numbers here, 10, 20, and as well small additional numbers here on the side. And these little numbers are showing the connection to an operation. So if I go to this level here exactly, you see I'm producing the subassembly, the second subassembly of this whole structure. We have two raw ingredients in there. One is measured in grams, one is measured in inches. Both are consumed within one operation. In this operation, we see information about the resources. So we are here producing the material. This is an operation, and this operation here in this example has also an alternative operation. So in Beas, we are able to execute our operations not only on one resource, we can also use another resource. And this resource can have different settings. So here you see a setup time. It's 30 minutes setup time for the production of the items and 60 minutes production time in the real production of the item. If we use our alternative resource, maybe it's using a tool that's not really made for this resource and we need to modify the tool before starting the production. Because of this, we have here a setup time of 45 minutes, but still the same production time. When we come to the next point here, we see a new icon. This is a little truck. This little truck is showing us an external operation. So we don't do this operation in-house. We will do this in an operation with an external operator. So we need to create a purchase order. We maybe have to provide materials to this external producer, and we are one time receiving back all the stuff together. If we do so, we can create all these documents directly from the production order, either for the single order, for the single operation, or summarized for the general supplier, or in other combinations. That's completely up to you. But maybe we don't want to use the external operation always, or we cannot always use it because the external operator has limited capacity. So for this, we have another option that's called variant. You see here the little a and the b. The little a and b are showing us different variants of the item. So this structure here, this substructure, can be produced either by an external operator or internally. So when we create the production order, we can select if we want to produce variant A or variant B. And in the production order, we will only see the operations for this specific variant. If we select A, it's the external operation I explained before. If we select variant B, we have this operation here with another raw material we are using, with another alternative resource we could use, and it's giving us the complete different structure. Beside the variant control, we have also a version control in the system. So we are able to control versions like different colors, a reset. So our customer is sending us a new drawing of the item, and we have to fulfill this drawing in a new version of the item. And we can really decide when to start with this new version. We can manage this version with the different batches to control which version we deliver to the customer. In the next operation we see here, we have another option, sub-option. We have a parallel resource. So I like the example as you see it here. We have a primary operation here, and our parallel operation is at least the same operation, but we use an additional resource. If you have to manage your resources, your human resources, separately, this is a very good option because you can plan the workload on the machinery resources as well as the human resources. This is beside the personal handling. This is another tab, but you can really add every human resource or a human resource group to the system to have this full control. Besides the capacity planning, another reason for handling this separately can be costing. So we will see later our calculation module. And in the costing, you can either add the human resource costing to the machinery resource, or you handle this separately. If you want to handle it separately, you can always add the human resource to the operation you want to. Now let me reduce this here a little bit to show you another point. As in this example here, we have two operations, operation 10 and operation 20, and these operations are connected to different items. Why are we doing that? While connecting the raw materials to different operations, we can control when raw materials are used and when they are consumed. So we need the item 10 here, the item position number 10, when we start the operation 10. Maybe we have a lot of time going by between these two operations. It's transporting time between two different machines, two different regions. Maybe we have facilities in different regions and we have a long transport time. So we need this item here on another location to another time. And by connecting the raw materials to the different operations, we have the possibility to control exactly this. Good. Now let's have a look into the item structure itself. For this, I open here my subassembly, and you see again, this is very similar to the SAP Business One item master data window, and I just open it to show it to you. So you see we have all the different tabs in here, but we are missing all the tabs here in the top of the window, the bill of material, routing, configuration, and quality control. We also have some additional tabs here in the lower window. We have the calculation, for example, and the variant control here. This is missing in the item master data, but this is very good showing how we include our new functionality in the standard SAP. So every data that is coming from standard Business One is still in standard Business One, and we use it for our add-on. We are only adding the data we need. So before we have a look here on the data details in the lower window, we go again to the upper window and check the bill of material. So here's our bill of material, our two different items we are consuming in this bucket. And we have some informations in here, the quantity we need, the unit of measure we need, the routing position we are connected to, and the variant control. So these little V's and A's are coming from these points here, and we just connect it to a variant. So if I connected this first position to variant A, it will only be available in the production order when we are producing the variant A. If I delete it and there is no selection, all these ingredients are available in every variant. Let's have a look into the details. This is my bill of material position, and now we can plan the bill of material position in detail. So we decide which quantity we need, and we don't have to have a one-on-one setting here always. It's in this example, it's exactly that. It's per one each, but maybe we are more handling here some kind of recipe. So we need to calculate it on 100 milliliter or on 200 milliliter. That's always possible. We are selecting the target unit here, and we just add the items as we need it. We can as well add fixed surcharges if we know we always need more than really needed. Something is getting lost into the process, and if it's percentage, we have here the scrap. We will see the scrap in several other points as well. We can add scrap in the header, so in the item we are producing. We can add the scrap in the operation. So we can really go in detailed in the scrap positions, what is needed for the calculation of the raw material we need. We can define routings and other options here, like the dimensions of the item, and give additional information and text into it. And we have here the extended tab, and there we come a little bit to the version control. So if we know that this bill of material position will change on a certain date, we can enter this date. And if we have created a new version for this bill of material position, and we want to change from one to the other version, we can select the version here and the time when we have to start the usage of the new version. We can select the breakdown in the variant. We can add some other informations, colors, images to the item. That's all up here. Now let's come to the routing position. And in the routing, we see here just one routing step. We see the details of the routing step. So we see the operation, the type, the resource. We have a description in there, and we need the time, the setup time and the production time. And here in the end is again the variant control. If I now open it, you see the details again. And the window is really similar to the bill of material window. So you see the number, the operation sequence number here. You see the operation type, and that is a very good point. So everything you set up here does not have to be in individual settings. There are operations you do several times in your production. You do it again and again on different items. And for this, you can set up a whole catalog with a preset of all the settings, and you just have to select this specific operation here. It will add all the information you need. Here's the resource, and we will jump into this in the next step. But let's have a look into the bottom of the window. Here's the setup time. This is only the setup time for the pre-calculation, and that is the setup time for the capacity calculation. So we are calculating the capacity on the resource. That was what I will show you next. And we can decide if this should be included in the calculation or not. Then we see here the calculation of the pure production time of the item. We see the quantity we want to produce in a certain time. So in this case, we say we want to produce 10 items in 60 minutes. We can change the settings. We can go to hours here. We can go to another timing, 30 minutes, something like that. That's all possible. We have a use factor. We can add the work step. We can set up an ideal time. We need overlaps, so we can overlap different operations after a certain time. Scrap factor again, I mentioned it, it will come again and again. And we have here the connection to a QC inspection plan. I will go in deeper to the QC again, but to let you know, we have two different options to go into the QC, either by document or by operation. So if you want to stop the production flow to do a quality control order in between, you add the QC inspection plan here in the operation. It will create the inspection order, and you can only continue the production after fulfilling the QC inspection plan. Or you do it by document, goods received from production, goods received from purchase order, and then the QC order will be created as soon as we have the goods received. Or other options, you will see that a little bit later. On the extended tab, you have the same options like we saw on the bill of material position. We can change the operation on a certain time. We have the scrap factor. We have some other options here. And then we come to the importance points like tool, utilities, parallel, and alternatives. So I think in this option here, it was the parallel. You see, we have here the parallel operation. We can go into it and set up either the same options or other options, so we can really do a very, very detailed setup for the different options here. Alternative means you can use an alternative material. We can add utilities to this production step or manage tools. Tools is again very interesting because tools are not available multiple times on different production orders. If you have a tool on one production order, it cannot be used on another one. So you can really control your capacity also for tools. Now let's have a look onto the resource. You see here we have some general settings. What type of resource is it? I mentioned it before. We can have machinery resources, human resources. What you see here is all set up for your specific situation. You don't have to have this ones. You can structure it in a complete other way. In my example, I have these ones here. We can add different locations, branches. Employee planner, that's very interesting because if you have a big number of different resources, they are not planned only by one employer. Usually there are several employees and you can select which employer will plan this resource. Should it be included in the capacity planning? And then we have here the point pool limit. This is again a very good thing. In a later webinar, we have the web apps, so our terminal applications. And in many factories, we still work a lot with paper. And let's say a good step is to print out the production order, but with operation with barcodes. Then you go onto the terminal, scan the operation code, start working on it, and then you finish your work and so on. But maybe you want to avoid completely your paperwork on the shop floor. And for this, we have here the pool functionality. The pool functionality means you have a guy on the shop floor, you connect a resource to this guy, and the guy will see all the work on this resource for the next 8 hours. So all operations available on that resource, because every previous operations have been finished, for the next 8 hours will be available. Why 8 hours? That's again completely up to you. For me, that's the typical time of a shift. So he will see the whole workload for his working day. If you want to show him only the workload for the next hour, that's also possible. Transit times is the transit time in general. So you know when things are coming from this resource, they always need 1 day to be available on the next resource, or you set up specific transit times between specific resources. So you have one resource on another location, so you have a much longer transit time. Efficiency rate, so beside the availability rate, we have an efficiency rate, so it's not available the full 9 hours you see in here. And this is the next step, it's the scheduling. So you see, this is a calendar. You have days with limited availability. On Friday, we have a limited availability here. And this is coming from our shift model. We can either select the shift model we have preset, or we plan the capacity in detail for every resource. And we can add dates, differences for certain dates. And we see here, for Friday, I have reduced the capacity to 4 hours, and I can do it as well for Monday here. I select the Monday, click New, and say on Monday, we have only 2 hours available. I update everything, and I see on Monday I have only 2 hours available. Very easy to control it. If you control your human resources with it and you know somebody has to go to the doctor after half day of work, you can just reduce his availability. On the next tab, we have the costing, marginal costing and full costing. In this example, we have it per hour. If you want to calculate your costing, you can do it here, or you do it externally. For example, in our business performance module, where you can really good calculate all the different costs, or you have an external source and can just enter the data in here. We can add attachments to this resource if we have to know informations about documents, expandable materials, if there are oil, for example, that usually needs to be used on that resource. Some extended informations like limited minimum lot sizes or maximums. And then we have here the interruption and the maintenance. The maintenance is again a separate webinar we want to do. And you can plan interruptions, longer interruptions on the resource there. So the maintenance is really a planned time the resource is not available. And beside that, you can create a maintenance order to maintain the resource, to plan the workload for the maintenance, order items on that, and so on. The interruption is more an ad hoc thing. That's something you will see on the webinar for the web apps as well. So we can create an interruption on a resource, and from that moment on, the resource is not longer available for the planning. Okay, so you cannot book any times on the resources anymore, and our APS will replan all the production orders connected to this resource until the interruption is finished. Good. Let's go back to the item master data. So we have seen the bill of material, the routing with the resource settings. We have configurator settings. So that's very similar to car configurator, something like that. You don't want to create every possible configuration of an item. You just want to give the system the possibility to create the configuration, create a sales order for that, create a production order for that, but you don't have to create every single item configuration. That's what you can do here. And then we have the quality control step. And you see here, we have also a document quality control for this item. And I will open it. And this is for a specific document. In this case, it's the batch split. So we have a quality control inspection plan for the batch split. And I can jump into it so that you can see the setup of such an inspection plan. Here you have the details. So you define the samples. I didn't enter anything, so it's for every item we do a batch split for. We can add release informations and so on. And when we have the measurement points, in this case, it's just an attribute check. And we want to check after the batch split, is the packaging okay and is the labeling correct? So we splitted the batch, we repacked it. Is it well packed? Yes, it is. Is the label okay? Yes, we printed out new labels for the both batches. And then we say attribute IO, okay, or it's not NIO, and then the batch will be blocked or not booked away from the QC warehouse. Again, different options you have. So far, so good. That's the item master data and the structure. Now let's have a look onto the production itself. And you will see on first hand, the production orders looking very similar to what we saw in the item structure. I fully extend it again. So we have all the options in here, all the sub-assemblies we had in the main structure. We as well have all the sub-options in here. So the tool we need for the quality control, we have here the parallel resource, we have here the alternative resource, and we have a lot of other informations. You see there are some strange numbers in here. That's because of the scrap settings in the item master data setting. We also see availability of the resource. So we see this resource is heavily overloaded. I don't know why, but it's very, very red. It's like 1,000% overloaded. The other resources are looking quite good. We see start dates. We can change this Windows settings so that we also see, for example, the start time. If we do the APS planning, that's also another webinar. It will really plan the real start time of an operation step, and you can show this as well in here. Yeah, the items we need, I said it before, and maybe you have recognized it for our external one. We only see the one production step and not both of them. Good. Now let's place a time receipt on this, and I just do it. Click on time receipt. And this is the real old-fashioned way. So you print out your production orders, you do all the documentation on this paperwork, the time you worked on it, the items you produced, the batch you produced, and so on. And somebody is placing it into the office, and then on the next day, another guy is booking all the stuff into the system. You select the person who worked on that, maybe the start and end time or just the production time. Let's round it up a little bit, 35 minutes, one item. We didn't produce scrap. If we produce scrap in this step, it's, for example, one good item, one bad item. It will double the raw material we consume, but it will book only one item into the warehouse. If we want to have both items on the warehouse because we maybe can rework the bad item, then we select two good items, we create a quality control order, and we give it another quality status for the rework. Good. Let's do the confirmation. We can either do a partial, but it's only one item we want to produce here, so it doesn't make sense to do a partial. We do the confirm completion. Yes, I want to proceed. And now the system is booking the item, the production time. It's consuming the raw material, but as some of the raw materials are batch managed, this issue window is popping up, and you see there's already a batch pre-selected. It's working following FIFO, so we have pre-selected the first batch we received in our system. You see the other one here is also pre-selected. This is not a batch managed item. Here we see the batch. This is the available batch, and this is the one the system has automatically selected. And we just have to click on all issue, and the system will consume this raw material. And as this was the last step of this subassembly, the only step is the last step, it will also book the goods received for this subassembly. So we see this window is closing now. We already see the journal entries, the goods received, and if I extend it here, we also see the goods issue. Here's the time booking. So all the data is here and also booked into our financial sector with the journal entries. So last point I want to mention, maybe before again, usually we don't do our time received in this way. We do it with the web apps. That's coming on another day. But sometimes we still, in this situation, have to change our production order. We have to add raw materials. We have to change the operation. We know we have to change the resource, even if it was not an alternative resource in the planning. And we can do all of this here in the production order. As long as we have not started a specific production step, we can do changes in here. Just do a right click and click maybe a new bill of material position, adding a raw material in there, and just do it. Just enter the item with all the details you need, and you can go ahead. Okay, that's all for today.